Welcome to another podcast episode. Today I want to be talking all about discipline as the overarching topic, but I want to get into the detail of trying to find balance as a young person. This is something I personally have been struggling with, all about basically finding this perfect grey area of trying to have a little bit of healing, a little bit of partying, a little bit of work, a little bit of downtime. How do we find and manage it all? Are we doing too much of one or the other? And just explaining how overwhelming I find it, so hopefully you guys relate and maybe can take on board a few tips that I'm trying out. It might not stick, as I always say, I'm no role model. I'm literally trying to figure this life out as I go. I just share my experience through this podcast and this page, and hopefully someone can join me on this journey and relate. So talking all about trying to find the perfect balance in life, I've really been struggling with this recently because I'm such an all or nothing person. When I'm in my healing mood and it's a bit quiet and there's not many plans going on, I put all my effort and attention into healing. So you'll probably notice that more podcast episodes will come out. I'll be at the gym more, I'll be going on walks more, I'll be cooking. I'll have a long list of things that are healthy and helping me, and I'll put everything into that. That will last for probably a couple weeks, a month, and then the flip side will happen where I'll have loads of birthday plans or, festival season, and all of a sudden all my energy goes into that. And I've just been finding it really hard to balance it. And the one thing I'm lucky about is I'm such a versatile person. The amount of different hobbies and things I like to do is crazy. One week I want to go to a festival, the next night I want to do a chill crafts night with my girls or baking, then I want to go on a walk or a little adventure or mini golf, some sort of activity. I'm up and down for anything, and I love that about myself. But then it's very hard to have a routine and structure because I get a little bit bored easily, and I want to be doing all these different things to feel like I'm doing a range of activities, isn't just all festival season, for example, because I know that too much of that isn't good, or I'm not chilling too much and feeling bored and having FOMO because too much of that isn't good either. So I've just been struggling with trying to find a balance. Something I've been working on in therapy as well is learning all about how I'm quite a restrictive person towards myself. I set myself a lot of rules, a lot of boundaries, and a lot of them are unnecessary. It's almost like I'm parenting myself. And I wasn't letting myself do some things that I really wanted to do because it felt like I wasn't healing and I wasn't being healthy or looking after myself. It felt a little bit like I was having a bit too much fun. But what I had to remind myself and where I'm at now is I'm 21, I'm still so young, and I'm not someone that likes to sit in all the time, here and there, but I do enjoy going out a little bit, or festival season or whatever it is. So why was I sort of restricting myself, or wasn't even restricting myself, I was going out but then feeling bad, I shouldn't be doing that, or I'm doing it a bit too much. And I just was being so restrictive and such a teacher about it, instead of just being you're young, have fun, let yourself have this because you're not going to have this forever. That's kind of how I've been feeling, and I think, but it's so easy to then go too far the other way as well. So it's basically a little ticker, and you want to find the perfect middle ground, but obviously there's no such thing as perfect, and it will constantly move different ways, and that's the whole point of life. And it's getting comfy with that, understanding that some weeks it's going to be over here, some weeks it's going to be there, and there's no structure or routine. And I think the reason I struggle with it is I like feeling in control, so not knowing if it's going to be a quiet week or a busy week kind of throws me off. I like to know exactly what I'm doing when. I like to kind of have a perfect map, look and be okay, we need to make sure we're doing a little bit of gym, a little bit of cooking, and then a little bit of festival, a little bit of this. And I was becoming a little bit of a control freak with it, and I'm trying now to more let things flow and just do things as you want. But the reason I'm quite restrictive is because I know I'm such an all or nothing person. So if I'm really enjoying one side or the other, I'm going to neglect the opposite. So I've been trying really hard to create what I'm going to call a grey space. So I'm a very black and white person, and in therapy I've been learning all about how can we make room for some things? How can we make a grey space? And stop being so restrictive and being like, you know what, compromise. Like, you want to go to that festival next month and there's a couple drinking nights out, that's fine. However, you need to make sure you're going to the gym at least 3 times a week, and you've cooked a new recipe once a week, and I've been doing work, I've completed all my work tasks. It's like work hard, play hard, do you know what I mean? As much as I've been letting it go with the flow, I've also been trying to craft and master this sort of, what is my grey space? What will I allow and not allow? And this is where discipline comes in, I think, because I think for me, motivation just isn't really a thing. Like, I procrastinate so bad. I have such low energy levels sometimes, and most of the time I'm just not in the mood to do the things I need to do. But discipline is a complete different thing. And I saw this thing the other day, and it really woke me up to be like, you not having a routine, not disciplining yourself, not taking yourself to the gym, not cooking yourself proper food, you're neglecting yourself, you're not loving yourself. And most of the time, all those things that you're not doing for yourself, you'd be willing to do for others, i.e. like a friend, a partner. And if you're willing to, say, cook or get your partner to the gym or go on a walk with a friend, if you're willing to put that energy into other people, why can't you do it for yourself? And as much as you may say you love yourself, if you're not disciplining and like embedding these routines, you haven't quite mastered self-love. And that was a bit of a shock. I was like, damn, yeah, like even the simplest things, like I'll come in a little bit late and I just can't be bothered to take my makeup off and do a proper skincare routine. So instead I just get straight into bed, scroll TikTok, and then I'm asleep. And that's kind of neglecting myself. Like, I should take pride in like taking care of my skin, taking care of my down and unwinding time, even if that means coming home a little bit earlier or setting aside that much time for me at night, getting off my phone. Like, it's retraining the brain to be like, you come first, or even getting ready. Like, say you've got fun plans for the day, but you should still come first. So you should be slowing down, getting ready how you want to get ready, making sure you've eaten something nice, you've really taken care of yourself before you then go out with your friends or whatever the plan is. So it's like kind of taking that time to be like, I come first. And with silly things like the gym and stuff, you might not enjoy that, you might not view that as that's loving yourself, but the idea of getting into a structure and routine where you don't falter and you always go, then it's kind of like a reward when you go out. And I work so well on like a reward system. Like, the way my brain is trained is like, I'll clean this room and then you can go do something you really want to do, or eat a sweet treat, or like whatever it is. So like my whole life has been programmed that way. So for me, if I want to get into a good routine, a good discipline cycle, I need to do the same thing. So at the moment, I've been just setting myself sort of like a few goals, like, and slow and steady. Like, I used to go to the gym every day, not for long, but I'd go every day. But I know that in the rut I'm in at the moment, that's a bit unrealistic. So I'm like, okay, let's take it back a step, 3 times a week or something. And slowly, like, if I can do that, I'll feel rewarded, and then I might up it a little bit. And then it's the discipline. I might wake up in the morning and be like, I have no motivation, no energy to go to the gym. But talking to yourself as if you're another person, being like, but you have to, and viewing yourself as like a friend or someone you'd like to take care of, maybe even like a younger version of yourself, being like, no, I'm going to take you to the gym. We're going to go to the gym. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And making sure that that sticks, that is good discipline. And if you can say no to plans and no to messages because you're doing something for you, then you're mastering the self-love. That's what you need to do. You need to sit down and think, what do I do that makes me feel good? And if I don't do them, it makes me feel a bit sluggish. And for me, if I don't exercise and I don't go on walks, I start to notice me falling into a rut. My room gets a bit messier. I don't eat as well. And it all kind of links together. So then I know I must make time for exercise and walks, or I'm going to get into a rut, and I can't really like play victim then. And I can't really be like moping around, poor me, I'm so sad, like all this. Like, if I've been drinking a lot, I can't use that as an excuse, because I know discipline wise I've got a few things that would make me feel better, and until I do them I can't moan. The best ways to discipline yourself is to kind of have something maybe every day or a goal every week that ticks every part that you need. So for example, mental could be journaling, could be prayer, could be going to therapy. Physical, exercise, going on walks, running, playing football with your mates, something like that, like once, twice, 3 times a week, whatever is going to be realistic to you. Then you want like creativity, or like career, I would put it under. Like for me, like I want to make sure that twice a week I'm doing something that is adding to my career and my creativity, and luckily my career is in a creative role. So if that's research, if that's consuming content related to that, if that's investing in it or practicing whatever it is, or if you're trying to get a new job, updating your CV, job searching, or just doing a new course that could improve your skills. Maybe this could be a once a month thing, but that is kind of like the career work side of things. That also links to like hobby wise, embracing your inner child. This could be a new hobby. So me and my girls, we've been doing like crafts, like making these bead bracelets or colouring books or baking, something like that, where you're off your phone, you're embracing your inner child. It's something practical, a new hobby, a new skill, crocheting, whatever it is. Pick something up and maybe once a month, twice, you're doing something like that. I think with physical, food comes under it as well, and food, I don't ever want to be restrictive of myself, but I have to make sure I'm eating good. Like iron levels is a big thing for me. I need to eat more red meat, things like that. Anything that's going to give me fuel my energy is a good thing. But yeah, that's kind of the main categories. And if you can think of more, let me know. But that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do something for my physical, my mental, something to keep my inner child alive, and something that's going to keep my creative fire burning. And I think once I've covered all of those things, like I'm going to feel good about life in general. And I guess the last thing would be self-love, and this is what I was talking about, is making sure with the discipline you're putting yourself first. It's all this programming of, I'm not going out until I do this and this because it's for me, I deserve this. Another thing is like that I've been really like thinking about with discipline is slowing down. Like I saw this video the other day of some girl like getting ready, which to me was like a normal pace, and then she did it again but like a lot slower, which is like a normal pace. And the one before was like really fast when I look back. And she was basically saying, why are you rushing? Like, unless you have a time you need to be somewhere, we have a habit of rushing, like getting ready in the morning, rushing cooking, we're really fast with everything. Or cleaning, we're like panicking, doing it fast. And it's like, if you don't need to hit a deadline, slow down, take your time with your makeup, take your time with seasoning. Like there's no rush. And like it's all about your regulating your nervous system, and by us panicking and going fast, it like gives us anxiety. But if it means you have to take an hour out of your day to have a slow, calm, nice morning routine, night routine, or something like that, you've got to do it. You've got to put yourself first. You've got to tell your friends or whatever, like, oh, actually, I'll need to meet a bit later in the day. I've got things to do. And it's that reprogramming. You come first. Let's slow down. Let's do our to-do list and checklist, and then we can play hard and do what we want to do and have a bit of fun. And especially if you're young, you need to make sure you get that fun bit. For me, when I've spent too much time healing and kind of isolating and spending too much time on myself, then I'll feel the need to go out more later and like make up for it, and it goes a bit too far the other way, and then you feel really sluggish, you've been coming in late, been drinking a lot, whatever, and then it's like you've just undone all that hard work. So a fine balance is so key, and I do think we're living in a generation where people are telling you to pick one side or the other. It's go out all the time, have loads of fun, or don't go out at all, be sober, do this, do that. Both things are fun, both things are good. But I think what's going to be sustainable is finding this grey area, finding a way to like do a bit of both here and there. Some months one overtakes, and that's okay. That's part of the process. Some months you're going to feel sluggish. That's part of the process. But you don't want to restrict or limit yourself to black or white. Do you know what I mean? You want to find this grey area where it seems sustainable and you're not feeling like annoyed or frustrated that you're missing out, or you're not feeling low and bad that you're not taking care of yourself. You're doing a bit of everything. I think as well with discipline, it's like a very hard thing sometimes if you aren't super self-aware and haven't really done the work on maybe your triggers, traumas, your bad traits and friendships, relationships, and by yourself, because it can be really hard to distinguish what's good for you, bad for you, what's having a bit of fun in this grey area, and what's really doing damage. And I think I'm so conscious of it that this is why I've been struggling to kind of let loose and find my grey area, because anything that seems remotely not healing and healthy, I put in a category of bad and not good for me and not worth my time. And then I realised that I was restricting myself, and then I wasn't enjoying the healing stuff, because the healing stuff to me then seemed boring, seemed so like I was missing out, and I had to be the responsible, mature one. I had to keep up this image of being like on top of things all the time. That created a whole dynamic where it wasn't going to work either, and it wasn't sustainable for me. So for me to truly feel good about myself and have this healing journey be consistent, I need to let some of this fun, maybe not amazing stuff come in. And by not amazing, I just mean things like, partying, dating, like festivals, getting out your comfort zone with things, if that's work-wise, friend-wise, literally anything. All these things of like the unknown that seem a bit scary and like they could trigger you, they could go wrong. All of that stuff I would class as like, maybe you just don't deal with that. But also those things come with fun. They come with lessons. They come with important stepping stones that you need to do, and just cool experiences. Like, I don't want to have kids one day and not be able to tell any fun stories. So like, you've got to take the good with the bad. You can't be afraid of it. So I think the only reason I've slowly been able to bring things into my grey areas because I'm very much aware of myself in those situations. So for example, like going out drinking, I'm not a massive drinker, like I'm a bit of a lightweight, and I know I'm self-aware enough to know that if I go out every weekend and come home late where I've not had much sleep, it has an impact on my productivity the next week. Because I'm aware of that and I'm in control of that, I know that that's not going to be an issue. So I can bring some of that into my grey area and find like a compromise of, we'll go out here and there when you want to, when there's an event, when everyone else is out, but you have the discipline to say no, or I'm going to go home earlier, I'm not going to drink as much, or I'm not going to do it all the time, because you know on the impacts it has on you. Whereas if I wasn't self-aware of that and I didn't see a problem and I was going out all the time and it didn't really, I didn't notice that being maybe a bad thing, then I can't really bring that into my grey area because I'm not aware of it. I'm not conscious of how it could damage the entirety of this grey area that we're trying to perfect, we're trying to keep safe, we're trying to keep it fun. It's a hard thing to balance, and I think it takes years, but I think it's most prominent at this age. Like, being in your 20s is a very difficult place to explain. Like, I want to be focusing on my career and I want to be healing and healthy and feeling mentally good about myself, but I also want to have fun and I want to go out and I want to meet new people and explore and go to this event and that. So it's like you want to find a combination, but again, if you've got the right discipline and you are aware of how these things could affect you, then slowly you can bring them in. It's the same with like friends. If you've got certain friends you want to hang out with, or like you want to date more, you've got to be aware of how they could impact you when you're triggered. Could they cause more damage, or are you in control? Are you self-aware of yourself around these types of people and in these experiences and situations? And if it's pretty steady, you can slowly bring it in. If it's not steady, you're not ready to bring it into your grey area. It means you need to go to therapy and work on it, dissect it. Why do you feel this way? Why does this trigger you? Why is this a bad thing? How can we turn it into a positive thing? And once you've done that work, then you bring it in. So there's some things that I won't do and I won't bring into my grey area yet because I don't feel ready, and I know that it might cause more damage to me right now. So that might be something I go work on elsewhere in therapy, and in a year's time I start being like, oh, I want to do a little bit of that, let's bring it in. But for the meantime, you're allowed to be like, that's not part of the life I want to live, we'll park it. It's one of those things where I just say like, too much of anything is bad. I think everything in moderation is key. It depends on, one, who you are as a person, two, kind of what your traumas and triggers and your life has been like. But eventually, I guess my main point and something I'm working hard on is being young and having a fine balance, letting myself be a bit free and have fun, but having the discipline to know that when the free and fun gets a bit too much and I'm getting a bit caught up in it, I've got the discipline to be like, pull myself back. We've got a list of things that we know makes me feel better and more in control, more grounded, more like I am Maisie. It's quite easy. Like, I especially found in every summer I find this where like I have so many plans and I get so carried away and I want to say yes to everyone and everything, that all my like discipline goes out the window of like the gym, reading, hobbies, work. Like, I don't care, I just want to go out, and that's because of my black and white mentality. So that's the thing I'm trying to unprogram, letting myself not restrict to myself, where, because what would happen is I would do that, then I'm aware enough to notice that that was really bad, and then I'd get scared and not want to go out with anyone again because I've let myself down, I've not put myself first. But I'm literally going black, white, one extreme to the other there. And now I'm finally, like, this year learning that you are allowed to do those things. Don't restrict yourself, but you've got to have the discipline that comes with it, and a middle ground, a compromise. And this can go across the board of everything. This can be work, partying, socialising, dating, self-love. You want to have some fun, free stuff, some risky stuff, with some discipline and some structure. And if you can master that, I think that is ideal in life, but especially in like your 20s, your young years, when you need to maybe prioritize other things. You've got to make room for others, so you know that you'll get to do all of that at some point in your life. You just might have to shift it all around a little bit. But if you live in this black and white mentality, it seems quite short-lived. It seems like I have to go out because I'll never get to go out again, or I have to stay in because if I go out I'll never stay in again. And it's kind of like you can't see beyond maybe even that day. So having this grey area allows you to know that you're going to have a bit of everything at some point. Let's just focus on today. What are we doing today? Restricting yourself, I think, only like builds up like anger and like strong emotions where it's going to pop one way or the other. It's either going to go out loads because you've restricted yourself too much, or you've gone out too much and then you're going to hide away from the world and then get quite lonely, and all of it has bad effects. So my best advice, and it might not work for everyone, is to find this grey area. And it depends as well, because it depends what job you have. If you've got a very social job, you might not want to be socialising at the weekend that much, but you've got to find a compromise where it's like socialising isn't just work, it is friends at the weekend, and socialising isn't just friends at the weekend, it's also work. So can you compromise and split your energy and be aware, like, I've got a busy work week, so that means I won't be going out as much, and then the next week, work's got a bit quiet, I should put some energy and attention into my friends, and switch it up. And if you're someone like me who works from home, who doesn't socialise much at all, you've got to make sure that you're not just waiting to go out and socialise. You've got to enjoy the quiet time too. Don't be too restrictive, but have discipline, and I think that will allow you to pick and choose when and where you're allowed to have fun, when and where you need to be a bit more serious, and you're not going to like rebel against it either way. You're not going to get bored and explode one day because you've allowed yourself to do a mix of everything. It's so important to notice your behaviours and your moods after certain things as well. Like, every time I've had a big plan, if that's a big festival or we've been drinking quite a lot, the next few weeks I always feel low, and it takes me like 2 weeks to be aware of like, oh, the reason I feel low is because I went out and drunken or did this, we had loads of late nights or whatever. And then finally I go, okay, what makes me feel better? Okay, exercise, cooking, all of this, and then it all links together. It just takes me a couple of weeks to like remember it and adjust, and that's okay, that's normal. But it's about noticing that, and noticing like when I come home, or like at the end of the week, if I've had a really creative week, like lots of clients in my Maisie Media business, or lots of fun stuff at work, and I feel fulfilled, that feeling I'm going to note down and be like, okay, you feel good when you do lots of creative work. Bring that into your grey area space. If you've been hanging out with certain people, they made me feel good, keep them. That made me feel really unfulfilled and unsatisfied, don't do it again then. And slowly just make a note of these things, and you're going to craft this nice area. And this nice grey area I talk about is going to change on different aspects of your life, depending on your job, depending where you live in, all this. So be conscious of that it can change and it can shift. I think another big thing is like allowing somewhere in that space some time to slow down, because I am so guilty of either going out loads or healing loads, or trying to find some creative work. And I really do struggle to just sit in this room sometimes and chill. And that's like off the phone. That could just be putting on some music and like colouring or cleaning a bit, or doing some crafts, or just watching a TV show. Like, I feel really antsy, like I can't sit still, I can't enjoy this time. So I'm trying to train my brain to slow down a bit, and that means I might not have time to do loads of work, healing stuff, or it might mean I can't go out as much. But again, it's this discipline and sacrifice of like, you're going to get to do all these different things at some point. What is the focus today? What have you been neglecting? Why do you feel a bit low? What needs to be prioritized this week? And it can be a little bit annoying because it does feel like, oh, I can't do this today because I did tell myself I'd do that. But you've got to be your own parent. No one else is going to do it for you. The biggest thing I'm learning, and I'm saying all of this, but this is such a new thing to me of like trying to find the grey area. Like, it might not work. In a couple of weeks, I might have switched back to healing loads or going out loads and struggling to find this balance area. It's going to take me time, I know that. Anyone else that is trying to do the same thing. But it's just something that I thought I'd discuss today, of bring attention of like, you're doing fine. Like, chill out, calm down. You don't have to pick one side or the other. You can find this middle ground. It's just about having the patience to find what comes in there when, what's the compromise, and this overarching theme is if you want to have this grey area and balance and a bit of everything, you must learn the art of discipline. And start small. Me and JC are doing something at the moment where we're writing, I think it's like 3 to 5 things that we want to, by the end of 28 days, because it takes 28 days to form a habit, these 3 or 5 things should stick, okay? And start small like that. Just 3 things a week of like, okay, I'm gonna cook 1 meal a week, I'm gonna exercise 3 times a week, and I'm gonna do a new hobby once a week, or I'm gonna read a chapter once a week. Whatever it is, just have 3 small things, small habits that you're disciplined enough that you have to do those things every week before you go out and do something else. And then you're training your brain to put yourself first, to discipline yourself, to have habits, to have structure, as well as not restricting yourself but rewarding yourself with the other fun plans that you want to do because you're young. And I think this reflects in my podcast episodes of sometimes I have lots to talk about and sometimes I don't, and I just want to, when I do put podcasts out there, I just want to make sure that it's good content and it's not just waffle. So yeah, hopefully there was something in here today that was good and made you think. Just everyone, something I want to say is like, I feel like we're all being quite hard on ourselves just across the board. Summer's come to an end, everyone feels like they need to be really on top of everything, but it's getting colder, it's getting darker. Just give yourself a break. I think this is the perfect time to slow down, chill out a bit, let yourself just rest after a busy summer. Don't put so much pressure on yourself, but also a time to slowly just make a note of some habits and goals you want to start doing, and you'll get there eventually.